Okay, we are recording. Joanna's here. We've got a lot of people waiting in public in the waiting room, 16 people in the waiting room. Uh, Joanna, I want to just give you an update. I just got a call from Reagan, and as everyone's aware, we had to kind of squeeze our schedule a little bit because of people's schedules and quorum. Reagan's second surgery for her schedule conflict is just starting now. She's going to be about an hour. Um, oh, I can't hear you, Joanna. You're muted.
Do we have quorum?
We will not have quorum with her gone. But
Oh,
I received word back from OGEC and I
yeah.
reached out to them and they said we can receive information, we can have our public comments. We're not deliberating, we're not discussing, we're just receiving information. We can do that.
Okay, we when you let the public in, you should make a I would make a record that we don't have quorum, OG, and repeat what OGE said to you on the record, and then just make it say something like, so the board is can the board members that are here can listen to you, they can't discuss. So it's really important the board members are here, not discuss anything, because we
I
don't have
also
quorum.
I
Yeah.
also want to say, okay, so the one item we can't discuss, which is the application item.
They shouldn't discuss. They shouldn't talk about anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it sounds like what OGEC was like, you can take in information, can't discuss anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
Um,
takes or sections 5 and 8 off the agenda until Reagan comes? That's consent agenda and discussion and action items.
yes.
Okay, but everything else is probably okay given what you're saying.
Yes, we can do public comments, we can do update from state veterinarian, we can do my executive director's report. So we can do all those things.
But it's really important the board members not talk. Right?
Okay?
Even as tempting as it might be, because we're not having a board meeting right now. It's just like all you're doing is taking in information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say, I mean, I'll say that before we get started, but I'll say that that's typically what we do during public comments, even when we have quorum, that it's just receiving of information.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Okay, well, we're at 2:34. I'm going to let public folks in and reminder Dr. Rinaldi and Joanna, as we discussed, we do have a journalist here from Coin, so we'll read through those comments, and that person may participate in executive session um, under confidentiality. Okay, all right. I'm gonna start letting folks in here. Thank you. Welcome. As you're joining us, I'm just monitoring the waiting room and admitting people. We'll get started in just a moment. Okay. Um, Brooke, can you monitor the waiting room in case other folks come in after we get started here, please? Brian's coming back in. Okay, let Brian come back in here. Okay. Okay, I think we've got everybody in. And we'll continue to monitor the waiting room and let folks in as they come in. Oh, sorry. Okay. Just a moment. Okay, Brooke, I reset. We are co-hosts, so I think you have some added abilities now. Okay. All right, we are going to get started. We're a little late. I appreciate everybody's patience. We've had some challenges with scheduling, and that's why we had to postpone our meeting a little bit today to 2:30. We will get started with roll call in just a second, call to order and roll call. I do want to say just at the outset here that we do have quorum issues. We are down. Well, we have one vacant seat, which we're already in behind there, and now we have one board member who's going to be late due to a schedule conflict. And so during this public session, we'll be able to receive information. We won't be able to discuss anything as a board until our board member joins us in about an hour. But we can still receive information. That's typically what we do during a number of segments of public session, public comments, our update from the state veterinarian, our update from OVMA, my report. So we can discuss those things and we can have our public comment period. And then we can continue when Reagan joins us later. So with that kind of introduction, I'll turn it over to our board chair, Dr. Rinaldi, to get us started with our call to order and our roll call.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Pete. So I'd like to call this session of the Oregon Veterinary Medical Examining Board to order. The public session is scheduled to start at 2:30 p.m. and will continue until the end of business. Executive session closed to the public will follow, continuing until the end of business. The board expects to come out of executive session and into public session for the purpose of voting on the cases discussed during the executive session and other applicable board business. Moving over to roll call. Let's see here. So starting with board members, let's see, I don't believe we have Dr. Hamilton with us today. Is that correct, Pete?
That's correct.
Natalie Mary Williamson?
Here.
Let's see, Karen Pate?
Here.
Dr. Katie Wallace, I believe, not with us today.
Not today. She'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Brian Wadika?
Present.
Max Rinaldi, present. Moving over to the board staff, executive director.
Sorry, Dr. Rinaldi, we want to record that Dr. Reagan Borzik is absent, but will be joining us in about an hour.
Oh, thank you. So board staff, executive director Pete Burns.
Here.
Investigator Janine Holland.
I'm here.
Thank you. Investigator Bertina Grayhill.
I'm here.
Inspector Charles Esparza.
I'm here.
Excellent, thank you. Licensing Administrator Brooke Walker.
I'm here.
Excellent. And over to members of the public. I believe we have a number of people joining us today. Pete, how would you want to go about going down that way?
Well, first let's record that our AAG Joanna Tucker Davis is here. Joanna?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Dr. Rinaldi, we typically go through, at least read through our list of public participants and ask if they would like to introduce themselves and if they'd like to notify us that if they have public comment or not. So it's a long list, but we could go through that.
Well, I shall go down the list. I've got a couple of names, a couple of abbreviations, so bear with me. I will call them out as I go. First off, I have some initials MK.
Yes.
and introduce yourself and state if you have any public comment.
Yes, my name is Melissa Costa, and I do have a public comment to share today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I have Stuart's iPad next on my list.
Hi, my name is Stuart Ekman. I'm a resident of Lake Oswego, and I'm just here to participate, to observe.
Excellent. Thank you. I see that we have Dr. Emilio DeBus on the call.
Hi, good afternoon, Emilio DeBus. I'll be talking about the CVT rules. Thank you.
Okay. And I do apologize. It seems my list is rearranging itself as we go, so please bear with me. I have, looks like Melody Pugh.
Yes, here.
Excellent. Thank you. Arissa Jeffries.
Yes, here. And I would like to make a statement.
Excellent. Thank you. I believe we have a representative from KOIN. It just has the acronym for me. Like,
That's okay. They don't have to, they can acknowledge or not. It's okay.
okay. I have Alicia Bice. Okay. I have Deborah Warner. Next on my list, Glenn from the Oregon VMA.
Thanks, Dr. Rinaldi. I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's see here. I have someone just listed as iPhone. If whoever that is wants to introduce themselves, love to hear from them. Okay. I have someone, Jill.
Here.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Oh, thank you, Deborah. There's just a note saying that she has bad reception but has no public comment.
Hi, Alicia Bice. Sorry I couldn't answer a few seconds ago. Just wanted to say I'm here to support and be an observer.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Kristen Knopfsinger. All right, on to May, M-A-E. Okay. I have.
Sorry, I'm here.
Excellent. Thanks for speaking up. Next on the list, I have Dr. Schultz from Oregon Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Rinaldi. Ryan Schultz, the Oregon State veterinarian.
Excellent. Thank you. I have Tammy Houston next on my list.
Yes, hello. I'm here to support and observe, and I will not be making a comment today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next on my list is Tiffany Deffern.
Hi, I'm present. I'm a concerned veterinary technician, and I'm just going to be observing.
Excellent. Thank you. Let my list rearrange itself here. Timothy Morrill. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Okay, I'll move on. Next on the list is just the initials TU. I'll move on, and then finally, I have Whitney Holiday.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. My government name is Whitney. I go by Helen, but I do want to talk to the board today, please.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know there were a couple of folks who didn't get an opportunity to introduce themselves. Let me see here. And so if anybody was skipped or didn't hear their name called, please unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jamie Williamsey. I'm just observing, and I have no public comment. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I see Christina Keefe raised her hand. I'm sorry if somehow I missed you in the list. Sorry about that, but please introduce yourself.
Problem. Thank you, Dr. Rinaldi. I'm Christina Keefe, the Executive Director of the Portland Veterinary Medical Association.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rinaldi. That's a long list. We have a lot of public participants, and I think that's great and it's exciting. I really appreciate, I know Dr. Rinaldi does and the board does appreciate public participation. We've done with roll call. We are on to board chair comments.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for coming. It's very exciting to have so many people here. As Director Burns said, we like getting feedback from the community. We like that public engagement. So thank you all so much for coming. Do bear with us. Obviously we have some time and scheduling things we're working through, and of course a lot of folks, it looks like, would like to make a comment. So without further ado, I think we can probably move into that. Pete, it sounds like we have kind of a list to get started with.
Yeah, we do. We have a few public comments from folk that sent in a couple of letters, and then one is a request for a waiver, and I think that one we're going to have to table until we have quorum. So the letters we can review because it's the public giving us information and shouldn't require deliberation. The board can look at these or anything and then direct staff to add to an agenda item for future discussion or deeper discussion or deliberation at a future meeting. So we'll bring those up. But Brooke, that one on my screen looks really small. I don't know if we'll be able to, I don't know if that's the same for everyone.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to fix it.
Thanks. In your board packets, this should be, there we go. This is a letter. Is this the one from Merle Weiner?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, so this has been on your board packets for a little while, board members, so you should have had time to review it, but we can take a moment here to look at it. Again, we're not discussing this. This is a letter that's giving us information, asking us to consider something, so we can look at this and then discuss it more in depth later. Sorry, Brooke, can you expand that just a little bit? It's cutting off the edge. Or maybe that's the way it was scanned.
And Joanna, as a point of clarification, if there's something that a board member wants to bring back for the agenda, it is appropriate without quorum to call that out as something we want to bring back.
To be honest, the safest thing to do, OGEC has said that you can receive information. There shouldn't be any kind of discussions. So the safest thing to do would be have that discussion that you want to bring it back once you have quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I'm looking at my version here, Brooke. I've got a kind of a cleaner version. Let me see if I can share this. How does that look? Can folks see that okay? I'll scan down so folks can have a look at this. That takes us down to the bottom of this letter. So this is about a fee for prescriptions. This is something we often get information on, so the board can determine if we want to discuss this further. We can add it to an agenda item for a future board meeting if necessary. Joanna,
So Pete, I would not even have that discussion about future board meeting without a quorum. So I would just return to this once you have a quorum and then ask that question of the board members then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing this one. And then our next item would be a letter regarding CET applications from Crystal Bloodworth, DVM, and Bailey Jallow, CVT. I was muted. Sorry. I was revisiting this letter. I just kind of detailing this letter. This is related to euthanasia and questions about the training process. And so this is something we can review as a board more fully when we have quorum. So the next item is a request for waiver. Now this is going to require a little bit more deliberation. Joanna, what do you think? Can we?
The board can't discuss anything, so you might want to put that later in the agenda.
Okay.
I like something to drink though. And then I probably do want chip music.
Okay, reminder to everyone to stay muted if you're not speaking to the meeting, to the group. Okay, so we could review it, or should we just wait?
I mean, Pete, that's up to you, whether you think you want to wait or have them review it now.
Since this is a specific request for a waiver, I think we should wait and make sure that we've got quorum, and maybe we could go into public comments, and then maybe by the time we get done there, we could look at this more closely with Reagan. Does that sound okay, Dr. Rinaldi?
I think that makes sense. I think we'll have to kind of revisit that anyway. So yeah, I say we bring it back.
Okay. And again, for our own reminder and for our public participants, we're really trying to follow public meeting rules and laws in terms of quorum, and there's things we can do when we have quorum, and there's things we can do we can't do if we don't have quorum. So we're just trying to make sure we're doing everything properly, and so that we can give these things its proper attention. But with that, I think we are ready to go into public comments with our folks that have joined us here today. And I'm not sure okay, I'm not sure where we want to start with that. Maybe just go down the list.
Do you want to read in the comments section, Pete?
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. So we will now move into public comments for those items not on the agenda. Comments, please, must be limited to 3 to 5 minutes, and we have a limited 1 hour for the full comment period. For planning and scheduling purposes, the board requests public participants to notify the office in advance if you wish to address the board. I'm sorry, Pete, you were saying, do we have
we had a number of people say, specify that they had some things to state specifically to the board, but we didn't hear from everybody. Others might have some things, but maybe we start with the folks that we know have comment to share. Alicia Bice, did you say you had a comment to share with the board?
No, just here for support.
Okay.
And observation.
Okay. And MK, I think you said you had comment.
Yes, I do.
Melissa Costa.
Yes. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Are you guys ready for me?
Ready to go.
Perfect. So my name is Melissa. I wanted to comment on the current model the board uses to properly investigate veterinarians in our state. The board keeps repeating, file the complaints. We can't do anything unless the public files the complaints. And I get how that might work in any normal instance. But the issue with this model is that the majority of people whose pets were harmed by, in this case, Dr. Daniel Kohler, don't even know that they are a victim or were a victim until some years later. Maybe they were lied to, like we were with our dog. Dr. Kohler told us that she had cancer and that's why he had to operate, mind you, with no scans, our consent, no consent, and with a revoked license at the time. He lies, the clinic staff lie, Pet owners are misled into believing that their experience was a one-off, when in fact it's a pattern. The victims don't even realize that they are a victim until they happen to see a news story, an article, a social media post, or hear by word of mouth just exactly the type of human who treated their pet, Dr. Kohler. By this time, often years have passed. They don't have the records or the proof they believe is needed to file the complaint. Maybe they do decide to file the complaint, but then they see the many stories online of Dr. Kohler and Companion Pet Clinic using threats, aggression, and legal action to intimidate victims, and decide that their personal safety is more important than pursuing accountability. That doesn't mean that their stories aren't valid. All of these issues, because in my opinion, AVMEB has chose to protect the veterinarian, no matter how absurd that is in this case, instead of the public, as their mission statement suggests. It could even be argued that by failing to take a more proactive approach and by leaving it up to the public to seek justice and spread awareness, that the board is putting the public in danger of retaliation by Kohler and clinic staff. We've all read the stories about Dr. Kohler going after people for simply being decent human beings and speaking out. Why would the board put the public in that situation in the first place? It seems not just flawed, but broken. I also wanted to address a common hot topic often discussed by the public, that people who take their pets to Companion Pet Clinic deserve what they get because they chose, excuse me, they chose a cheap clinic that fits their budget. That way of thinking needs to stop. People should never be punished or blamed for actively seeking veterinary care for their pet. It shouldn't be the sole responsibility of the public to research every veterinarian that they consider. We don't do that with doctors. We trust that the oversight in our state aligns with public safety, though that does not seem to be the case here. I would also like to add that many people are still unaware of Dr. Kohler's past and the reputation of Companion Pet Clinic. Maybe they're new to the area, they're young and just starting out, they're not on social media, they don't watch the news, they have language barriers. Again, that's not the problem. The problem is a board that allows a clinic like Companion Gresham to keep its doors open and prey on these individuals. And what's starting to happen now is that members of the public are questioning important information being shared about Dr. Kohler. They think there's no way this can be this bad and he still have a license. If this were true, he'd be in prison. Yet here we are. Lastly, time is of the essence. Every day that the board claims to be investigating, more pets are being subjected to potential harm at Companion Pet Clinic Gresham. Why Dr. Kohler's license has not been suspended pending the outcome of this current investigation is maddening. His license should have never been reinstated after being revoked in the first place, which typically implies a permanent loss of license. My final question, and I'll leave you guys all with this today, is how does allowing Dr. Kohler a veterinary license benefit the board? If no benefit to the board, then why reward him with a license to practice and harm pets? Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate the comments.
Yes, thank you.
I have Helen Holiday.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Did you have public comment to share with the board today?
I do. So I've spoken with the board before, twice in 2025, and I'm just here again because still there has been recent events at the Gresham Clinic affecting real people, and still there's been no justice for the animals harmed by Daniel God Kohler and his associates. And in my opinion, that failure rests with this board. When credible harm is documented and no decisive action follows, the board is complicit through inaction. Accountability delayed is accountability denied. And the absence of justice actively endangers future animals and it erodes public trust. The community has been responding for justice. We have a Facebook page, a group. It's called Companions for Justice. It is full of firsthand accounts from people who did experience the horrible conditions, violence to their pet, lack of accountability. I really, really hope that you just go and check it out for yourself. There also are active protests every weekend near the clinic from victims and others who are concerned. of the abuse dealt by Dr. Kohler and others like him. And then there's no short supply. And because after doing research, I have found that there are multiple veterinarians with documented patterns of substance abuse and animal harm who have been allowed to continue practicing. And when the board fails to act on known risks, it does not protect animals or people, and it enables further abuse. We see who does and does not act to this injustice. I would hope that you would care to be on the right side of history. I do want to personally invite you to the protest this Saturday. I'll be there early morning, probably around 10 or 11. I would love to see you there, even if it's for a little bit. It's a great opportunity for you to really connect with the community that are working hard to spread awareness so no one else has to become a victim. That's about it. Thank you for your time. I wanted to say also thank you to everybody who showed up. It really means a lot. I was also wondering, Peter, if you could share any updates with us at all.
Thank you, Whitney, for your comments. As far as updates go in a specific case or investigation on a specific licensee, I cannot provide that information, and it's protected by rules related to confidentiality of an investigation. I can speak to our investigation process, and that aligns with every investigation of every licensee or unlicensed individuals in some cases. Every case that comes before the board. And one thing I can talk about is we receive a lot of complaints. We have two well-experienced investigators that investigate these complaints wholly and thoroughly. They take all of the available information, and that is presented to the board. Every single complaint is reviewed by the board. And we go into executive session because those things are protected. It's an allegation. It's not proven yet. Everybody's offered their due process, and that's part of that right. We do have an obligation of public safety, and but we also have an obligation to that due process and make sure that we're getting our facts right and reviewing things as diligently as possible. And that's the reason for executive session review of investigations. And I can tell you, the board looks at every case and discusses it in every detail. In some of these cases, sometimes we discuss for an hour or more, and over multiple meetings. Sometimes the board says we want more information, go back and find it. I say this generally, but I say it generally because the board takes all these very, very seriously, and the board looks at every case very seriously. And I am limited what I can say specifically, and I know that's frustrating. But that is what I can say right here. And I do appreciate your comments and everyone here that's here today to express their opinion to the board. That's how this system works. Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you.
I'm looking through who I marked as comments. I know Arisa Jeffries had comments. Ms. Jeffries?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I can unmute.
Gotcha.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Arisa Jeffries. I'm here today because my dog Ace was injured in 2017 during what was supposed to be a routine neuter procedure at the Companion Pet Clinic of Beaverton performed by Daniel God Kohler. Ace went into that clinic a happy-go-lucky dog, tail wagging, trusting. After more than 5 hours in Daniel Kohler's custody, he did not come out of Kohler's custody the same dog. He suffered physical injuries and ocular hemorrhaging that clinic staff later misrepresented as medication side effects. This is a common misleading, and misrepresentation is not unique. It is the same conduct documented in California disciplinary records where staff were coerced into concealing injuries caused by Daniel Godcolor's inhumane handling. What has not changed over decades is the pattern of abuse behind Daniel Godcolor's closed clinic doors. What has changed is regulatory tolerance for intimidation, hostility, and silence that has created conditions where abuse to animals and humans can repeat for decades, while the board renews, reinstates, and a licensee with a long documented history of violent recidivism. What Oregon has had notice, knowledge, and foreseeability of Daniel Godcolor's dangerous handling and restraint practices since at least 1980, when California probationary findings were known to this board. Yet, despite that notice, Oregon communities have continued to bear the risk, protesting Clackamas 2002, protesting Beaverton 2019, protesting Gresham 2026. The community is the only ones fighting against this violence towards our animals and towards public safety. Oregon, over the past several years, I've listened closely to families whose pets were injured, traumatized, or killed while in Daniel Kohler's clinic custody. What initially appeared to be isolated tragedies revealed a consistent, repeatable pattern. Families describe the same sequence again and again. Their pet goes into clinic custody at Kohler-affiliated clinics. Something goes wrong. A crisis unfolds. They rush their animal to the nearest emergency hospital. Emergency teams focus on stabilization and survival. Families leave traumatized, confused, and financially devastated. Emergency hospitals are not the problem. They are the safety net. The failure occurs before and after that emergency handoff, where accountability disappears. Companion pet clinics are often described as affordable, but affordability cannot be measured by the initial invoice alone. True affordability must account for the total cost of crisis. Documented outcomes associated with these clinics include severe restraint injuries during routine procedures, immediate emergency transfers, euthanasia because the damage could not be reversed, botched or incompetent surgeries requiring correction, long-term physical disability, neurological and behavioral damage requiring months or years of rehabilitation. And Lori McKinnon said it best. He is butchering our animals and will not stop on his own. These outcomes cost families thousands of dollars. When an animal is rushed from Daniel Godcolor's clinic to an emergency hospital or euthanized because the abuse cannot be undone, this veterinary service is neither affordable nor humane. It is a transfer of risk onto the most vulnerable families and animals. Now, I want to address the critical legal failure. In 2003, the Oregon legislature enacted mandatory reporting laws after finding a direct link between animal abuse and human abuse. Veterinarians were given a duty to report aggravated animal abuse and immunity when reporting in good faith. Aggravated animal abuse includes reckless conduct causing serious injury or death, especially where there is a prior conviction. Daniel Godcoler was convicted of aggravated animal abuse in 1979. During that criminal trial, SPCA witnesses testified that he followed their vehicles, harassed them, intimidated them, conduct that constitutes witness tampering. This is exactly why the legislature recognized animal abuse as a public safety issue, not a bedside manner issue. Yet for decades, the public and veterinary professionals have reported coercive intimidation, menacing behavior, and violent abuse in Daniel Kohler's clinics. These complaints have routinely been dismissed as outside the board's jurisdiction, despite mandatory reporting laws being in effect for over 20 years. Veterinarians, including board members, have a duty to report suspected criminal animal abuse to law enforcement, yet confirmed by state officials to me, those reports are not being made. Instead, families are redirected solely into administrative complaints where criminal conduct is filtered out and buried quietly in administrative files.
Ms. Jeffries? we're at 5 minutes. I do appreciate your time. Again, as we said before, we're just trying to be considerate of our time and other participants. Can you summarize yours in just a couple more seconds here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, repeat allegations should trigger escalated discipline. The decades-long pattern of dismissed complaints and continued licensure has produced measurable erosion of public trust in veterinary oversight because they no longer believe oversight systems will protect them or their animals. I am here today because silence has caused decades of preventable suffering for animals and our communities. Mandatory reporting exists to prevent this. Lack of enforcement has not. The erosion of public trust you are seeing today is not accidental. It is predictable result of decades of dismissed abuse. Public safety is not only about what happens to animals behind closed doors, it is also about how witnesses, clients, and community members are treated when they raise concerns. The board was created to protect animal welfare and public safety. That mandate only functions if it is enforced. The board has been drifting from the mission to protect animal welfare and public safety for decades. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Jeffries, thank you so much. I appreciate your sticking to our time constraints here. I appreciate your comments here before the board today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was tracking who had comments as we were reading in. That's all I tracked, but I do see Bradley Larios has his hand up. Bradley, do you want to make a public comment? Bradley, if you're muted, if you have something to share with the board today. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from Bradley, but I will open it up to anyone else that has comments for the board.
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jill.
My name is.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. My name is Jill Dominy, and I would like to go on record as agreeing with all of the statements made against Dr. Kohler and companion pet clinic aggression. I have lost 2 cats to companion pet clinic in the last year. One died within 2 days after just a standard routine neuter, and the other one died on the table with no answers and no really verifiable evidence that it was sickness or illness. It was, I was not notified when my cat died on the table. I had to call them to find out. When I did drop my cat off to be neutered, I had questions that were not answered. They were impatient and rude. And then with my first cat that I dropped off, he got very sick and had to be euthanized at an emergency vet 2 days after he was neutered, which should have been a standard routine neuter. He was a nice, healthy 5-year-old cat, and this should not have happened. And this story goes on and on and on. I have met dozens of people who have gone to this pet clinic with the same exact stories. Something has to change. That is all I have.
Thank you, Jill. Anyone else have any information to share with the board during
I do. I was over and I'm sorry about that. I had a tech.
Okay, thank you, Bradley. Go ahead, Mr. Larios.
Hey, my name is Bradley Larios. I'm a prominent Cane Corso breeder in the Pacific Northwest. Our family has 30 years of history of bringing this breed from endangered to AKC registered. We played a major part of that. In about 2020, I don't have the specific date in front of me, Daniel Kohler was visited by me and my family to bring a fresh litter of puppies to them to have tails docked and dew claws removed as part of the AKC's breed standard for what we do. This was a routine surgery. This is something that we've had several vets do. We've had 0 complications in the past from having this work done, from Barclay Hills Animal Clinic all the way down to Hannah the Pet Society. So when I brought these dogs in for Daniel Kohler to do the tails and dew claws, these puppies came back with infections. These puppies came back sick, bleeding and hemorrhaging, and I lost an entire litter of 8. This destroyed our public reputation, caused an investigation of animal cruelty with AKC because we lost an entire litter, and damaged our public reputation in a company that we've been doing animal outreach, rehoming, rescue, and controlled and organized dog breeding for years. When I brought this up to them and told them that complications stemmed from this, I was 86th from the Gresham location. I was investigated for apparently torching a car, which never happened. A lot of accusations took place, which was really never the case. When I brought this up to the Oregon State Veterinary Board, you guys brushed it off like it was nothing. It took 6 months for you guys to get back to me, and when you guys did, it was fruitless. When I brought it back up to their business to tell them that they've done harm, they didn't care. This is the same behavior that we're seeing from a million other people who are right here in this meeting telling you that this guy is bad news, that he kills animals, he doesn't care, and it's not just him. It's pretty much everyone in the Companion Vet Clinic's organization that are complicit with his behavior. And there are other veterinarians under that organization's wing who do close to the same thing. My vehicles were followed. I was threatened. I had people come to my house in Troutdale. Remember, this is in Gresham, so this is not a far reach for them. I was harassed. I've received leaflets and things on my vehicles, things left on my door, threatening messages. I had public issues with Facebook, including being told that I was selling animal parts on Facebook Marketplace, like decapitated animals. It's the weirdest thing on the planet. And this happened the second I brought it up to their administration, that he killed an entire litter of puppies.
Bradley, thank you for sharing your comments with us today.
I'm going to interrupt briefly just to make note. It looks like Dr. Borzik has joined us. Thank you, Dr. Borzik. If you want to just speak up real quick and confirm that you are here and can hear us.
Hello, I'm here. I can hear you. Apologies, everyone, that I'm late.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Borzik. Public comments from anyone else with us here today?
Hi, this is Tiffany. I apologize. I wasn't going to speak, but I just please ask that you listen. I personally, in my experience, have heard awful stories, but again, where's the proof? So the job's hard enough already. And these are very real concerns. So I ask that he's got to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Anyone else want to comment?
There are some comments in the chat, Pete.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to read through those. We have a number of comments here supporting other speakers. I'll read through those just for the record here. How does the community help raise the OVMEB minimum standards? Can you explain this to us when you have quorum? Well, the board reviews minimum standards. The board reviews cases and applies it to the minimum standards. as we look at each case, we look at the minimum standards. We discuss it with our AAG for legal review. Sometimes we ask for more detailed legal review on a legal question, and we discuss it. As a group, we designed the board to have 5 veterinarians so that they have a certain level of experience and expertise, 1 CVT to have that level of experience and expertise, and then 2 public members, and their focus is really on that public safety element. And so that provides us a broad spectrum, broad perspective, I should say, to look at each case and from multiple angles and consider the expert side, the legal side, the public safety side. Comments from Whitney. You guys don't forget the board does not care. They have had years to do something. We demand action. There are multiple vets at the Gresham location that have harmed animals. They know this. Arissa Jeffrey says, we already raised the minimum standards in 2019. The board won't enforce the Veterinary Practice Act or minimum standards that do exist. Whitney Holiday said they gave Sonny his license back. The ringleader of dogfighting ring. Why did they untie Daniel and Sonny? It's sketchy. Okay. These are public comments. This is what we want to hear. Again, I can't speak to specifics on individual cases. What I can reassert here is the board does look at these cases very, very carefully. The board looks at all the evidence that's provided, and the board weighs these cases and the evidence very carefully in each case of anyone that comes before the board, any case that comes before the board. Okay. Any other comments from anyone during this public comment section? Okay. MK writes, we're tired of being told to have patience. Patience is long gone. The ball is in your court. Time to be proactive and do due diligence. Okay, these messages are received. The board has heard them. Are there any other public comments? One more comment from David Carpenter, watching from Forest Grove area location. I'm here because of our community outcry. Thanks for joining us, David, and sharing your comments with the board. Okay, and as we said earlier, again, we do appreciate the public engagement. This is the forum. This is the way it's designed and how it's supposed to work. Dr. Borzik?
I'm coming in a little late, so I'm not sure if this has already been said, but I just want the public members who are here to know that I think I speak for all of us. I certainly speak for myself when I say that we care very deeply, and I know it can be really, really hard to not have things happening the way that they look like they should happen from the outside, and that can be painful. But please know that I care a lot. So, and I think that my fellow board members do care a lot. And like Pete said, we appreciate that you're here, and we appreciate that you're using public comment to share how you feel and share your experiences. And it's all really important that we hear this. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borsick. I appreciate you sharing that, and I would say very similarly. I will speak only for myself, but I certainly agree with what you said, and I second that.
Okay, we are coming up in about an hour. So if there are no further comments, Tiffany is asking what the next steps are. So next steps of specific complaints and investigations, those are each looked at individually. Complainants are notified if there's action or inaction following a board review of any case. If there's action, there's a process for notification of board action. Then there are hearing rights. If there's a term for hearing rights, so that can delay things a little bit, and ultimately there would be a final order that's stemming from an action, and that is a public document that is available on our website. And if anybody has any questions about that or how to obtain that, you can reach out to me, and I can walk you through that a little bit more specifically. The other questions here are a little bit related to specific investigations on a specific licensee, and I think that's more of executive session discussion.
Pete, you have another question in the chat.
Oh, minimum standard. Sorry. More actions. Our veterinarians are required to keep track of animal deaths or report them. This is a rules question. In terms of reporting, I'd have to find that. I have to look into that more specifically. I don't have that rule off on the top of my at hand right now. I can look into that and get back to Zeb. A question related to how much does it cost taxpayers to investigate licensee perpetually without resolve? That's a difficult question to answer. We have a detailed budget, and we track our expenses in terms of. I would say that we don't investigate perpetually without resolve. All investigative cases do resolve, but we do have a breakdown of what our investigative costs are. Those are available in our budgetary information. Okay. Right. I think these are getting into a lot of like investigative specific cases. And I think what I can do is try to respond to these as best I can individually with what's appropriate, with what we can share. But I do think we do have other matters we need to discuss here as well. Okay. Okay. We do have one matter that we were going to come back to on the CCT waiver for Dr. Rockman. The other questions, I will note they're in chat, and I will reach out to individuals and try to get a response to those on an individual basis. And I think that's where we'll have to leave it for now. We will have more public comment in March if folks still want to come and present more information and get more feedback from the board. Is that okay, Dr. Rinaldi?
I think so. I think the plan was to kind of circle back to the letter from Dr. Rockman, I believe.
Okay, Brooke, can you bring that up on the screen? I was muted, sorry. This letter has been with the board. We can review it now. We can discuss this waiver request from Dr. Melanie Rockman.
Do we have these documents on our iPads too?
I believe we do. Brooke, were these dropped yesterday?
It should be in under the public comment folder.
Under public comment folder. And then if they were dropped more recently, you may have to restart your iPad for those to load fully.
I'm sorry, Pete, did you say we need to, we can discuss this now, or do we need to bring it back further down the agenda?
Joanna, we could discuss this together now, correct?
So how you want to order your agenda is basically up to the board chair and the board. So up to you all.
Okay.
We could discuss it now. We could discuss it under discussion and action items so that we can give it a little bit more time, and then we could we also have Dr. Ryan Schultz here to present his information in a minute. So Dr. Rinaldi, however you feel you proceed.
Since we're getting on 3:40, I'd like to hear from Dr. Schultz, just kind of get some of those things out of the way. That way, if the discussion runs into tomorrow, we can always, we're not having to delay Dr. Schultz's update. So unless the board has anything in particular they want to shout out on this, I think we move into consent agenda, and then we can come back to this letter as part of the discussion. Right. Well, on to consent agenda. We have the agenda for today. We have as well the board meeting minutes from the meeting in November and the board meeting minutes from the meeting in December. And I believe we just need a motion to approve those.
I so move.
Oh, Natalie, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so going around the room, Dr. Borzik,
Aye.
Natalie Williamson,
Aye.
Karen Pate,
Aye.
Brian Rodica.
I just want to check. The motion wasn't seconded. Is that necessary for this?
Sorry, thank you. Thanks for keeping us to the straight and narrow there.
If
Yes,
that's the case, I second.
okay. So Brian Rodica seconds, and then going back up to the top, my apologies, Dr. Borzik,
Aye.
Natalie Murray Williamson,
Aye.
Karen Pate,
Aye.
Brian Rodica,
Aye.
and Max Renardi, aye. Motion passes. Let's see here.
Thanks, Dr. Rinaldi. And just for public participants, the board meeting minutes are, once approved at this board meeting, those will then be available on our website probably within a week or so following this board meeting, once we get those typed up, presented, and loaded onto our website. So future board meetings, take a little time to be reviewed, prepared, approved, and then once approved, they go to the website. Thanks, Dr. Rinaldi.
Yeah. Next on the agenda, we have Dr. Ryan Schultz with the update from the state veterinarian.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks, Dr. Rinaldi, and thanks for the board. So Ryan Schultz, the state veterinarian with the Oregon Department of Agriculture. Kind of actually appreciate the public comments going a little bit long. It allowed me to make it from Boise to the office here in Ontario, so I can actually be on video and not driving through the Idaho countryside. So just a couple of updates for you guys this month. So as has become kind of customary, it seems like lately, highly pathogenic avian influenza continuing to be ongoing. We're kind of nearing the end of the season this year where we normally see cases. Usually we'll have a few cases taper off through the winter, but really around the first of the year is when we see those cases kind of start tapering off. We're up to 12 cases this year so far since October 1st. All of those have been pretty much small backyard flocks. We've been really lucky. We haven't had any large flocks or commercial flocks that have been confirmed this year. So that work continues to be ongoing. There is no sign of it leaving the waterfowl anytime soon, so it'll be an ongoing thing. I am happy to report that the dairy cases nationally, we still do not have any cases in dairy cattle here in Oregon. We're somewhere around 5,500 herd samples that we've tested at this point. Still testing about just shy of every dairy in the state every week. On average, we're at about 92 to 93% of the dairies statewide every week that are getting tested for Hypatia, and still no detections on that. We have not had any feline cases since last July was our last feline case also. So seeing some positive trends on some of the non-typical species. Some other diseases we're still continuing to pay attention to. New World screwworm has been continuing its northward movement through Central America and through Mexico. We've seen quite a few new cases announced over just the last week or two in Tamaulipas state in Mexico. That's kind of the northernmost outbreak right now. It has progressed from just single cases that had been brought up and were detected on arrival to now locally transmitted cases there in Tamaulipas. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 120 miles south of the US-Mexico border, which for perspective, I am currently sitting about 300 miles from most of you, and I am still in the same state, being over in Ontario. So that is not very far. So it continues to be something that we worry about. The Oregon Department of Agriculture did host a statewide state agency exercise last week. to really begin solidifying our statewide plan and process for New World screwworm response should we have a case detected. We'll follow that up in about 2 months with a second tabletop exercise to kind of solidify that plan, that planning effort. So still doing a lot of work there on that disease, preparing for the potential for it to arrive. We've been similar to the HPAI testing kits that we've been distributing to veterinarians for about a year. We have been distributing sampling kits to veterinarians also for New World screwworm for about the last 6 months. Again, free of charge. We're continuing to try and get those out to particularly food animal vets, but we also do have concerns in companion animals as well, as New World screwworm is not it is not picky. It pretty much affects any warm-blooded animal. So we in Mexico, the number 2 species for cases right now in Mexico is dogs. And so we do see a lot of cases in dogs and cats, particularly on the farms. Other disease-related stuff, we are working on some updates to our disease reporting rules. We're not adding or removing any diseases. We are just clarifying a few things. We're going from 1 rule into 3 separate rules because we've realized that as the list has grown over the years and expanded into some of the monitored diseases, the structure of that disease was getting really long and really confusing. So we're just breaking it out. The 3 different categories of reporting will each be their own rule. And then in that update, we are also updating a few scientific names that have changed since our last update, because scientists like to do that every couple of years to us, and adding a few common names that were missed. So no new agents, just new common names, updated species names. We do have that's one of our rules that's in process. We've got a couple of other rulemaking going on right now. One is around New World screwworm and import requirements, should there be a case in the US. And then some general animal health updates and implementing some statutory changes from last session. That's also going on right now. I believe those will be out for comment next month. We had our rule advisory committees in January, so those will go out for comment starting in February. We will also be doing some disaster work, and we have a few updates in there. So we did receive some funding this last year from the legislature through the Department of Emergency Management to build some additional disaster sheltering kits. So previously we had 4 shelter trailers stationed throughout the states. We received funding to build an additional 32 palletized kits. We have begun distributing those throughout the state. The eventual goal is, should every county choose to host one, we have either a trailer or a pallet shelter kit for every county in the state. That's the end goal. Some counties have indicated they don't really have the resources to store them and manage them. And so we're doubling up on some of the counties with a higher need. But the idea with those is to have supplies pre-positioned in all of the counties or throughout the state at least, so that in the event of a disaster, we have modular kits that can be moved around and utilized quickly for those responses. So I think that's the majority of our updates for today. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. I appreciate the update. Over to Pete Burns, I think, with the Executive Director report.
Great, thank you. The board has the report on their iPads. We've got our standard sections on here to review. These our budget numbers for this board meeting are from November 2025. We've got our revenue and expenditure early in the biennium here. We've got our percentage broken out in terms of our revenue collected and expenditure going out. We are sorry, I'm looking for, here we are. We have an ending cash balance of $324,000, which equates to 4 months available cash. And so we're early in the biennium. Revenues kind of just coming in from our renewal period that started in January, and that really is our time when we make money to make our revenue for our operations. Now, to be reminded, we're a self-funded agency. We we make our revenue based on our fees primarily, and that's that. The renewal season has just kicked off here at the beginning of the year. We are well ahead of where we were in past renewal cycles. I think we've done a better job of getting that information out to licensees to renew their licenses. All of this, Brooke takes care of all this as our licensing administrator, and she's adept at following up with their responses, helping them enter the portal and update their applications and get their renewals through in a more timely manner. At this time last year, we were into March when we were really wrapping up all of the renewals, and we're already at probably 80% of all licensees having renewed, and we're just approaching the end of the month here. So Brooke's done a great job of getting those renewals cycled through. So thanks, Brooke, for doing all that, and we'll continue to keep that updated. Remember, there's we have until really March 1st to get those renewals in, and that's our target date, but we're well ahead of that. And so I check with Dash Shared Financial Services every week, and we're doing well. We've got a strong budget, and we keep a close eye on that. We have no major expenditures or program changes coming in this next calendar year. We are working on some rulemaking, but none of that's really going to impact our operations majorly. I don't anticipate any big changes coming that would impact our budget greatly. Also recall that this last year we just raised our licensing fees for the first time in 14 years. And with the renewal cycle that's coming in, it's at that new fee structure. So we do have that increase in revenue. However, that was projected to just keep us maintaining as we have been with our cost increases. So the fee increase was necessary, and the fees, as I've said, the fees that we have them now are still lower than most other jurisdictions around the country. So we try to keep those fees as low as we can while still maintaining our operational standards. The board has additional budgetary documents on your iPads. And if you have any questions about those, you can always reach out to me and discuss. We can discuss those together. Any questions on budget? From the board? Okay. Next, I'd like to point out our 2026 board meeting calendar. We had a couple days that we were trying to negotiate the best time. We've done that. So these are our dates. I do anticipate we may have to have a special board meeting in February just to clear some cases. We have a continued backlog of cases. We have a lot of cases coming in. And, we want to make sure that we're clearing those in a timely manner. I'll talk a little bit more about investigative cases shortly, but I anticipate we may, especially since this meeting was curtailed a little bit, we may have to get into a special board meeting in February. But the other board dates are set, so please keep those in mind and adjust your calendars accordingly. All right, agency administration. We are still looking for a board member to serve as vice chair. If anybody's interested in that, please reach out. Dr. Rinaldi is our board chair and doing a great job. Vice chair is really there just to kind of step in if he's unavailable. It's kind of an introductory to the chair position. It doesn't require much more time than you're already giving. So if it's something you're interested in as a board member, please reach out to me and we can discuss that. We're also recruiting for one veterinary seat and one public member seat. So please spread that word far and wide. If anyone's interested in serving on the board, please reach out to me and I can talk anyone through the application process. In February, we will have another veterinary seat. So it's important that we get some candidates, some interest in those positions. I've talked to a few veterinarians that are interested. and hoping to get them through the application process. The public member is a really difficult position to fill. And Karen has agreed to continue to support us, and we really appreciate that, Karen. Okay, next I left the new licensing fees on here just because it's still new. We're in the middle of renewal season, and so this is what our fees are right now after the changes, and it's just there for transparency. And yeah, any questions on that, you can reach out. All right, we get into our different agency program areas: licensing, compliance, and inspections. All right, licensing, as I said, renewal has been really the main thing that Brooke and the rest of the team here has been working on. We have a really good system in place. Brooke's really handled these well. And our system, our licensing portal, although it's got its technical challenges, I think we've managed to wrangle that into working for us pretty well. And licensees know it pretty well at this point. So things are going pretty smoothly, but we have our licensing numbers here for you to consider. But Brooke, did you have anything else to report on renewals or licensing in general?
I don't think so. I'd need to check again, but I think we had 400 licensees left to renew and about 42 facilities.
That's fantastic.
Been pretty good.
That's way better than we were last year. I think last year we were wrangling folks, way further down the road than we are now. So folks seem to be aware, seem to be know what to do, and yeah, it's moving along pretty smoothly. Thank you, Brooke. Okay, looking at investigations. These are our investigation numbers with our open cases. As I said down below, we've had case volume has really increased a lot since August, and it's kind of shot up and then it's kind of plateaued, tapering off a little bit in January, but we're not even through January, so I'm sure that number's gone even higher. The investigators process these cases. We discuss them weekly. We discuss them weekly in terms of anything that's what's coming through and what we can do to investigate those thoroughly. Again, I want to remind folks that this next section here, this next paragraph here, in 2024, we had over 200 cases, and at that point, a lot of those cases were 2-3 years old, and now we've reduced that. And although we do still have pretty high case count, none of those cases are over a year old. So we've cleared a lot of the old backlog cases, and we're wrapping up these cases more quickly, even with the high volume. And again, we receive a lot of complaints, and a lot of them, but only 17% of them typically result in a violation or formal board action, and that's most often a civil penalty. So those are that could be anything from something lower level to a higher level violation. But those percentages are still coming in around that 17 to 20% range. Any questions from the board on investigations? We got a lot of volume coming in, but we're processing them and getting them to you in a timely manner. Okay, we're looking at our inspections, and our inspections. We do have a board inspection report detailing our inspections this quarter, or since the board met last, I should say, and we will look at that in executive session. That'll detail which inspections were conducted in the last since the last meeting. And so as you recall from our last board meeting, we have a relatively new inspector. Charles Esparza has come on board and was trained up on inspections and has been hitting the road and getting into those facilities and conducting those inspections. We have a little update here from July 25 to mid-January. We've inspected 97 facilities as part of our regular inspection mandate. So we're hitting some really good numbers for early 2025. We're going to continue to maintain those inspections. And we'll talk more about the specific inspections that we've conducted in executive session later. We've also started our pharmacy self-inspection program. That's every year we send out our pharmacy self-inspection form to facilities with pharmacies. And that just went out in January. And so those are starting to come in pretty quickly, and we'll have an update for you on that program at our next board meeting as well. Any questions on inspections? Okay. Looking ahead, I just want to kind of say what we're going to be focused on as moving forward. We're going to continue focusing on our fiscal responsibility and transparency. It's our budget work and all of our work with our expenditures. And again, you have detailed documents on that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Delivering timely licensing and renewals. Again, our quick renewal turnaround this season, I think, speaks to the diligence there. Managing increased complaint volume. Our investigators are staying apace with the increased complaints that are coming in. Conducting effective inspections. Charlie's doing a great job early in his role on that. I know that's going to continue. And clear communication with licensees, stakeholders, and the public. So that's outreach, and that's that's primarily with me and Charlie, who's out in the facilities. But we do welcome public input. We engage with our stakeholders, our legislators, our partners, and so we want to continue that as we move forward here. So I welcome feedback and additional information, or if you request any other information you'd like me to focus on, please let me know, and I'd be happy to include that in the next director's report. Any other questions? Okay,
Hi,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So moving on to discussion and action items, and
Sorry, Dr. Rinaldi, before we do, I do want to give Glenn Kolb, if he's still here with the OVMA, an opportunity.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I usually, Glenn, are you still on the call?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Oh, great. Glenn, could you give us an update from OVMA and anything that you've got going on in terms of legislation, bills, or anything else coming on?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Pete, and Dr.
Thanks.
Rinaldi too. Yeah, just one item. So in about 2 weeks, the 2026 legislative session starts. It's a short session, 35 days, first part of February to second week in March. That's the duration. Legislators, the governor, committees are limited to no more than 2 bills that they can introduce. We're aware of one. It's a legislative concept now that will become a bill, and it's similar to one last year that I've talked about, and that's to allow non-veterinarians to perform pregnancy evaluation of cattle. That'd be preg checking, beef cattle, and then route breeders preg checking on dairy cattle too. We oppose that in 2025. We expect that we also will oppose it again this year. We have met with the Senator Todd Nash, who is the sponsor of the bill, and we've met with other committee members. It's going to be heard at the same committee who actually supported it last session. The governor ended up vetoing the bill that did pass. So I just wanted to let you know about that. If it's approved and passes, Oregon would be the first state, to our knowledge, that allows non-veterinarians to perform these services, which we believe, because it's stated in the Veterinary Practice Act, that is the provision of veterinary medicine. And this would be the only state that allows non-veterinarians to perform these services And so we do have concerns about that. And you'll get more updates as the session starts.
Thank you very much, Glenn. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn. And let's see, Pete, am I right in thinking that we run up to about 4:30 or so? I think you might be on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, in my schedule, I said we were going to go till 5.
Okay.
Since we started late, I would like to address that CCT waiver. Maybe we could discuss that first before we continue with CVT work group update.
Yeah, that was kind of at the top of my list as well. You want to pull that back up and board members can kind of read through it and weigh in, and we just kind of go around the room, kind of get people's thoughts. This is the Rockman Melanie letter, I believe.
Yeah, it's right there. Can we put that back up on the, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. So this is Joanna. So one of the things when the board looks at this, they're also going to want to look at their statutes about what are the requirements for licensure. And there is an exemption to licensure if you're working for an educational program, but it wasn't clear to me that this is what she was discussing.
Can anybody provide clarity around whether the specific parts of the clinical competency that she's asking to waive?
I can kind of speak to this. It kind of unraveled. Initially, she was approved to sit for the NAVLE. They didn't catch that she didn't graduate from an accredited university at the time of graduation. So they pulled back and said, actually, you're not approved based on that information. So at this point, I've been kind of trying to help. You can kind of see in her letters, and I think I found an appeal with PAV to see if she can use her experience to waive that evaluated clinical experience. I think that's probably her kind of best route here. I know we've talked about this. We don't have any type of any other pathways that I can see, unless you guys, like Joanna's talking about the rules, unless you guys see anything else. This is kind of a different situation here. So,
and just to clarify, Brooke, does that grant credit for the clinical year? Does that allow her to sit the NAVLE? Is that what they're asking for there?
So it allows her to bypass that clinical experience. She then takes the PAV test, and then once she's completed that, she can then take the NAVLE. So it's kind of, does that make sense?
So Brooke, in terms of I'm looking at the rule 875-010-000. And it says for a graduate of an unaccredited veterinary school, and it sounds like that's what she is, completion of all the requirements of the Education Commission for Foreign Veterinary Graduates program or the program for assessment of veterinary education. Is she done that?
Let me look at that. Can you repeat that rule, Joanna? Is that the one you sent in?
So it's 875-010-0000. Qualifications for veterinary licenses and permits.
Okay, hold on. And you're asking if she
has she gone because it sounds like for foreign degrees that is the process to get them approved.
Yes.
Is she done that?
She has not. No, and that's what we're looking at here.
Okay, so I mean, I wonder if we can bring that. Can we bring that rule up on the screen so the board can see it?
Yep.
Yeah. And then
Can I ask a question? I mean, isn't number 3686045 doesn't that prevent us from doing anything really? Because it says has completed at least 1 year in active practice in any state or territory of the United States.
so
Or
she would, yeah, so she still, to get a full license, she's still gonna need, well, it seems like there's a lot of potential questions here. One is she's got to graduate from the right kind of school or go through the process the board has in rule. She's gonna have to get 1 year of experience here in a state or territory, which maybe she could potentially do with an internship license in what she's discussing. And then she's got to pass a NAVLE if we're talking about a full license.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question people were talking about was that there is this temporary license, and it sounds like she holds a valid license in North Carolina, but she hasn't necessarily been engaged. Well, so she potentially could be, well, so she potentially could be, she could get a temporary license, but then she still has to be able to qualify for the NAVLE to get a full license.
Isn't that what she's not asking for, though?
Well, what I'm wondering for is, can you give her what she's asking for?
And Brooke, did you say that NAVLE had declined to let her sit it because she wasn't a graduate from an accredited school?
Yeah, so it since 2006, which she graduated in the 90s, it is now accredited. However, when she graduated, it was not. And so they missed it and approved her to sit for the NAVLE, and then they pulled it because they made a mistake. And so she then came back to me and said, and I looked at things closer, right? Because the way that it comes to me, I don't always see that, especially if they've already been approved to sit for the NAVLE. That's so I think she's just trying to find some way. I don't know. Can you guys see that appeal process? Is that up on the screen for the PAV?
What is this PAV process?
So the PAV process in our rules, if you look, is it going? This is PAV, so we accept that.
Okay.
So if she can complete that program.
Yeah. But she doesn't need our approval, right? To do that. That's a requirement if you're
She doesn't. She just needs to send an email and provide the required documentation. She then asked if like the board would write a letter in support of the appeal. I think she's just trying what she can.
So has she been turned down by the PAV process?
She has not been. No, I just found this for her. So I gave this information to her last week.
I think what's confusing here is that she's already licensed in another state. Correct, Brooke?
Yeah, this is kind of just, this is certainly new for me. I've not quite.
Yeah. So that whatever state she's licensed in, the requirement must not be that you need the NAVLE in order to get a license in that state, but our rules does say that. So she will need to go through the PAVE or is it the ECFG program to get that first step of being qualified to get a license in the state. Then after that, she would have to take the NAVLE. Then after that, she would have to have 1 year of no, maybe she doesn't because she has the 1 year in North Carolina or wherever she's licensed.
Yeah, she does have that year. She wouldn't need the intern license.
Yeah, but in order to get there, she needs to have those first 2 steps.
Right, right.
Should we go around the room and hear from board members, see if there's any particular questions anybody has or particular direction they're leaning? Start with maybe Natalie.
I agree with what Brooke and Brenna are saying. It looks like that's the step she has to take, and we should probably follow our own permits and license rules.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. Brian?
I just want to make sure I'm not missing something, because when I read 686.065, the issuance of a temporary license, which, if I'm reading the letter correctly, is what the applicant is looking for. It looks like the criteria are met. And if that's an option we could explore.
So it looks like the issue with the temporary license is the sub 3, which is it's there for her to take the NAVLE. And then it sounds like she's not yet been qualified to take the NAVLE because she hasn't gone through these paths.
I think I was missing sub 3, so let me.
Sorry, Brian, I hadn't dropped that on there. It's a long section. There was more.
That's fine. I could look at that and see if that answers my question.
I have a question for either staff or anybody more knowledgeable than me. So if she fulfills all these steps and jumps through all these hoops, what typically would be the time frame for her to complete that? Like if she started the first step this week and passed the test, how long would it take her to do all that?
Are you asking like if she does the alternate pathway, like the path?
Yeah, my interpretation that her issue is that she's only in the States for a short-term residency. So I can understand if it's going to take her a year to get the license, why that is not feasible for her. But if maybe it doesn't take a year. I don't know how long this process takes.
The PAD program takes 52 weeks.
52 weeks. So it is a year.
Yes.
Do you know, Bertina, if she bypasses, if she submits this appeal and it's approved, how long is it after that if she doesn't have to do that portion?
I don't know.
I don't either. I know I think that's probably her best route at this point, though. I don't.
Dr. Borzek, I don't think we've heard from you yet.
Was that for me?
Oh yeah, sorry, I can speak up a little bit.
What did you ask?
We hadn't heard from you. I just want to check in and see any thoughts or.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I lean towards what we were discussing earlier, where PAVE seems like the way that she should proceed, and then yeah, I don't see a place, unless Joanna thinks something different. I think our statutes are pretty limiting in this situation where we really just don't have a lot of room to flex.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I'm looking at this, and I don't really know that we have a mechanism to grant her what she's asking for, which is to say, a limited, restricted license to say, oh, you can only practice in this one place with these restrictions. I think if we grant her a license, we grant her a license, and I don't know that she really meets the requirements to do so. And before we did, I would like to see maybe some transcripts or something a little bit more. She has the statement from the consulting company. It doesn't really seem it's not clear to me why, you know, they seem to focus on like veterinary pharmaceuticals and like, you know, I looked them up, like, you know, kind of industry interests and things like that. You know, I think a little more supporting documentation on, you know, for competency to practice veterinary medicine before we sign off on, you know, whatever we ultimately come to. I feel like the NAVLE and PAVE is a straightforward way to go about that, but
I just want to add that she did and has submitted her transcripts. I believe we could ask Joanna, but those need to be viewed in executive session.
Well, but I'm not even sure. So if we look at that rule about her qualifying education, if the board wants to start approving unaccredited schools, you're going to have to change your rules to allow for that. Because right now you have those two pathways for that process, the PAV and then the whatever the other one that was like a longer name. Right. So right now, this is what your rule allows in terms of what's an approved school. For an unaccredited school.
yeah, and she still has to pass the NAVLE.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, to her request that we write a letter to NAVLE, I don't think that's really our place to do that. So it sounds like the consensus is to say no, we can't honor this request, and then kind of redirect her back toward PAV.
Or just, I mean, the rules, or she could also do that Education Commission for Foreign Veterinary Graduates program too under your rule. So I would just I would give her the rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, Brooke, do you think that is that enough to be going on for you as far as a response to her?
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay. Anybody else wants to weigh in on that one before we move on? All right.
Thank you, board, for considering that. We get these kind of sideways alternative routes sometimes, and it's great that we can just talk about it together and make sure we're looking at things the right way and then giving applicants the best info. So thank you very much for looking at that so carefully.
Absolutely.
Dr. Rinaldi, with the time we have, I really appreciate everybody's time. We're coming up. I'm hoping we can get into discussion action item CVT work group update. And depending on how long that takes us, we may table everything else for tomorrow morning. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think so. Unless there's something small, we think we can kind of pick off the list real fast. But otherwise, yeah, we can start there.
I think that's a good place to start because we have Dr. Emilio DeBess here with us.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
And Brooke, I'm going to throw this up on the screen because I have the most recent version, okay? Dr. DeBess, are you there? Oh, maybe he had to go. Okay. I don't see him in the room, but that's okay. Dr. DeBess was and Natalie Mayor Williamson, our board CVT, were the chair and co-chair for our CVT work group. They've been convening on and off for about a year, looking at CVTs and starting with big questions and kind of big picture topics, and then they narrow that down to some specific things. This is their next iteration of rulemaking, and they want to present to the board. It is a little more limited in its focus. They do have larger questions for the board, but they decided to kind of table that for now, look at some smaller changes and just looking to clarify some things here in these rules, and then continue to meet, continue to convene, and come back to the board later with kind of larger topics for deliberation. So I'll run through these. You guys can look at them. I'll text Dr. DeBess and see if he's able to join us.
Now I had a couple of questions. I don't know if Natalie, if you want to kind of like, give a quick overview, and then people can kind of go around with questions and thoughts.
Sure. We're basically trying to, allow the CBTs to work with a limited VCPR in some of the rural areas to help with, vaccines and dispensing of medication where a lot of veterinarians can't go and do certain things. But when we were doing that, we noticed that we could compile the rules a little bit tighter or open up certain areas. And this is what Pete is going to show you that we've done. And if we can get some input on that. Right, Pete?
That's correct. And Amelia will be joining us in a little bit to answer any questions, but the red indicates where we're looking to make the rule changes. We try to keep this as clear as possible. In some sections, we talked about removing some language. A lot of that's because of redundancy, or to not create, or to make it more more aligned with other sections of other rules elsewhere. There are some places where they're looking to make a change like this. And then we have a note here. I think you can see my full document, that we have to circle back to the 0040 list to make that align. And that'd be a rule change later on.
Okay. Let's see. I thought we might just go person by person. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review this to the level they want, but Brian, any immediate thoughts or questions?
I don't see any, I think it looks good from what I see of it, and I appreciate the work that Natalie and Dr. DeBess put into putting this together.
Just want to let you know it was a whole team. It wasn't just us. We worked together.
Well, then thank all y'all.
Okay.
This section here probably has the most significant changes so far. It's really more of a kind of a clarification, specification of terms there. And then the insertion of a whole new subset here as H.
Dr. Borzek, any questions, thoughts?
Yeah, and I talked about this in the CBT work group as well. I guess I'm a little confused, and maybe some board direction might be helpful about or maybe some conversation back and forth between the board and this work group might be helpful about what our goals are with this, because we are removing certain tasks that are required that a CBT or a veterinary assistant could do. But then we're adding tasks that a veterinary assistant or a CBT could do. And I guess I feel like a more comprehensive approach would be to take both the veterinary assistant and the CBT rules, look at them simultaneously, and then delineate where we want CBT, things to lie, and where we want veterinary assistant things to lie, or I guess I should say unlicensed individuals. It just feels a little bit like we're going to get more questions and when I say we, I mean probably board staff, because we're adding more detail. For example, this is what's up on the screen right now, so that's what I'm looking for, but we're adding more detail about removal of calculus, soft deposits, plaque, et cetera, et cetera. But we're taking away things like prepping an animal for surgery. And so I think the public perception of that might be, what does this mean? Like, does this mean that only CVTs can clean teeth and anybody can now prep an animal for surgery? Or does this mean that everybody can do everything? Or, you know what I mean? So I just think really some more like thought around delineating tasks and who do we want to do what, and then listing that out more clearly in the Practice Act, knowing that some of them will be overlapping. Like sometimes there's going to be CVT things that unlicensed individuals can do. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Dr. Borzek. I agree. I think there's a need for some discussion there around, the way that the Practice Act has always been written around like veterinary assistants, and kind of like what unlicensed individuals can do is very specific as to say, these are the particular things, this very specific list of, half a dozen things that are reserved specifically for CVTs. And then we also have this list of other things that CVTs are permitted to do. And so, it's hard to know how to like justify those two lists sometimes. I did have a couple of questions for maybe Natalie or whomever. When we're looking at CVTs may perform the following acts, that kind of subsection 2 or section 2, and then we've got some of these things don't specifically talk about direct or indirect supervision. Is there how is that interpreted? Is that something that has direct or indirect assigned to it?
I think at the beginning of Natalie, by the way, at the beginning of the Practice Act, it says that these are direct or indirect supervision for the doctor to be aware of that is. So it is listed in there.
Okay. It did. So, I guess there was kind of that question in my mind for something like thoracocentesis. Is that something that indirect supervision is is that something that we're comfortable with? There's something going to be a little technical.
Yeah, that is based on what in the beginning we wrote, the supervising veterinarian shall be responsible for determining the competency of the CVT. So it's really up to the veterinarian whether they are comfortable with a CVT doing that or not. If they're not, then they can't do it. So,
Sure.
so I think that's pretty clear on this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Just that was in my notes that I'd ask.
Yeah.
And then I did have a note for the operate X-ray equipment, etc. And then CT scans or MRIs may only be performed by CVTs. I'm assuming, just for consistency's sake, we wouldn't want that language to accidentally exclude DVMs. Is that?
No, I don't think so, but this is geared for CVTs for what we can and cannot do. And I suppose we should put in, okay for DVMs, but don't they have their own section of rules?
Well, no, I think, I'm sure it's fine. I just didn't want one rule to accidentally, contradict another.
Yeah, we're not trying to exclude anybody, but we're just trying to make it so that the doctors are comfortable with us doing these things if they feel that we are competent enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh, certainly.
Dr. Rinaldi, I had the same question there, that the wording of that confused me. So I think that deserves a second look. because I also puzzled over exactly what was being said there.
Thanks, Karen. And I think
We
Joanne,
could change it and put CBTs and DVMs.
Well, this is Joanne. I don't think you need to do that, but this is back to Dr. Borz's comment. The way that the rules have currently been set up is there's this long list, and then there's a much shorter list of only CVTs can. So if you follow that same structure, what you would do is put the CT scans and MRIs in the only CVT cans list.
and for what it's worth, I think that's consistent with oh shoot, the name of the specific agency is escaping me. The agency is responsible for operating or governing operation of those advanced imaging machines. They currently require licensure anyway. So regardless of what our rule does or does not say, you have to be a CBT or a DVM to push the button on the CT.
Right.
Radiology Protective Services to Oregon Health Authority.
Thank you, Pete. And then even within that, Oregon Health Authority requires us to pass the cross-trainer course as well, which is fairly involved. There's quite a bit to that one. Let's see, I had a couple of other questions. I think actually that might have just been about it. I think by and large, other than the things that have already been brought up, I was pretty happy with those. I did have a question, and this may open a can of worms. You can tell me to go away. But has the subject of VTS been brought up in the context of the CBT work group?
No, we didn't go to the specialties at all. We just stuck with the CBT.
Okay, that's fair. There's a lot of confusion in the VTS world about what they're supposed to do with their enhanced license. ABVP doesn't give a lot of guidance. I don't really think there's a lot in most of the practice acts out there that I've seen, but I think that there was kind of a missed opportunity for Oregon to make use of those people, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, Natalie. The goal of the work group is to expand some things when when there's not a specific veterinarian who's available in a particular place.
Right. But from my understanding, when you get a VTS, I mean, once again, it's up to the doctor to feel that you're competent enough to do what they want to do, and it's under direct supervision to be able to do those things. Am I wrong with that, or?
Dr. Borzek?
I think you make a good point, Dr. Rinaldi. And sorry, I'm trying to lower my hand as I'm talking. One of the things I thought of as you were talking about that too was earlier you mentioned thoracocentesis. And I do think that there are, the VTS trained CVTs probably are going to be more competent depending on the person, again, and their experience and what their past training has been than somebody without a VTS. So maybe there is room there to expand for certain duties. And I guess sort of my other coming into kind of, well, these are getting a little mixed up, but with regard to the veterinarian deeming the CVT competent, where and with regard to the board being required to protect the public, right? Where is that line? Because it feels a little bit murky. Like by stating that in our Practice Act rules, are we sort of deferring responsibility at some level? And is that what we want to do? I don't really have an answer to that question. I'm thinking of it kind of as we're having these conversations around, is putting all that responsibility on the veterinarian in the best interest of public safety or not?
I think it's a good call out. I completely understand where that language comes from. But I also and in a great respect, I am responsible for the actions of my CVTs. They follow out the orders, but there's also the license confers some responsibility as well, and I don't want to lose the ability to call a CVT to task. They can kind of hide behind the veterinarian and say, well, they supervised me and they said it was okay, so therefore I'm not responsible. I'm just thinking hypothetically here, but
I mean, ultimately, not that I wouldn't take responsibility for doing something that I shouldn't have done. I don't usually do things that I shouldn't do anyway. It's always an order or request from a doctor, at least when I was working. I don't know how it is now. I've been out of work, I've been retired for a couple of years, but in the Practice Act, it does state that we are under direct supervision or indirect supervision by the veterinarian. So we are part of their responsibility. Am I wrong with that?
no, not at all. Sorry, go ahead, right. Go ahead, Dr. Barzik.
I think you and I are going to say the same thing, so I'll let you go.
I was going to say, I think I very much agree with you there. I mean, if I give a particular order that is bad or poor or poorly conceived or is just way out in the weeds, and that order is carried out, I'm responsible for that. But at the same time, also, I expect my CVTs to come to me and say, hey, did you intend this? Was this actually what you wanted me to do? And I think that that's an important part of being a CVT, is having the ability to go back to the doctor and say, hey, my training suggests that maybe this is not quite the right course of action. Now, if we still do it, again, that's on me as a veterinarian, but I think that the CVT does bear some responsibility for being a part of that discussion and conversation.
Absolutely. I have done that many times where I've gone to my veterinarian and said, I don't think this is the right dose or whatever. And that is a responsible certified veterinary technician.
100%. I mean, that's CVT is to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Right. But I mean, how do we put that in this? It has to be, I mean, that's common sense, I would think, but how do you put it in there? You're also responsible for these things. I mean, I would think that's just part of a team effort myself, but anyone else can comment.
I would really like to have this come to the entire board when we have more people, just to make sure we get everybody's perspective. These are some I think they're very cool changes. I'm excited about them, but I also think it's really important with big changes like this that we make sure we have as many stakeholders involved in the decisions as possible. So that would be my preference, is to wait until we have more of us present, more of a quorum.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, this is something that CVTs have wanted forever, but it does have to be agreed with the OV MEB and all the veterinarians involved.
I did find, and I knew I had another question, just a clarifying question for you, Natalie. Down the emergency care section, all the way down at the bottom, establishing open airways, including intubation appliances, but excluding surgery. Does tracheostomy tube fall in that or out of that when you say intubation appliance?
I definitely think that a tracheotomy is a surgery, and that's probably not something CVT should be doing.
Oh, sorry, not tracheotomy, tracheostomy, like placing a tracheostomy tube. And I think that's probably the right answer. I just wanted to clarify and make sure I understood what you meant by intubation appliance. I think you might be on mute. Sorry.
Yep, I am on mute. Sorry. I honestly, I think putting in putting in a tube is fine, but not any kind of surgery to do that.
Yeah, fair enough. It was just that verbiage around intubation appliance. I wanted to make sure I understood. And I'm sorry, Pete. I kind of ignored your hands there. My apologies.
No, not at all. That's what I was doing. I was trying to get some notes down as you were coming up with something. So what I'm hearing is nobody's super in love with these rules yet, but they have potential. I wrote down a number of questions from various board members. Things like maybe take these and more align them with the 0040 do's and don'ts in terms of veterinary assistance. So maybe take this back to the work group and say, can you align these and maybe look at those 0040 rules simultaneously and make sure that we're lining them up together. Clarifying specifically what kind of supervision and where a little bit. That was one topic. Specialties. A question about DVs determining competence. We could look at that a little bit more closely. Is that where we're landing? Kind of, I know Dr. Borzik talked about maybe the full board looking at this for more perspective, but maybe in between now and then, taking this back to the board with some input from the board, taking this back to the work group with some info from the board for them to maybe spend a little more time on this at this phase before they get into those bigger questions coming down the pike later.
Yeah, I actually like that. I think that's why we brought it to the board in the first place, was to get their opinions on all the things that,
Kind of a status
yeah,
check.
status check. And I'm willing to do what you guys would like us to do.
Yeah, no, and I really do appreciate the update. I think I mean, you guys have been working on this for quite some time, and there's a lot to consider here. So it's good to kind of see the first bit of it coming through, and I would say that I'm actually very interested in a lot of this thing. A lot of this is really cool. There's some clarifying questions that weren't clear to me though, that I thought we might want to hash out, but I agree, bringing it back makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I?
Sorry, Natalie, go ahead.
If anybody in the board would like to send a bunch of questions or ideas that they have, I think that would be actually really helpful for the work group. And we have some really fantastic people on the work group. They're really smart and just lovely to work with. And I think your questions would be extremely helpful.
Excellent. Thank you. Is that something, Pete, if a particular board member has questions, they should direct them to you specifically, and then you disseminate those?
Correct. If they send those to me, I organize notes for those work groups and then facilitate the meeting. So that's the perfect way. If you have questions specific, send them to me. Otherwise, I've made some notes here. I'll formalize those a little bit and get them off to the work group, and we'll try to meet before the March meeting. Or we'll try to meet well before the March meeting and then have updates ready for the March meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
One more note here. Glenn noted that Radiology Protective Services has some notes in their rules on CT and fluoroscopy. So they've done a lot of changes. So we'll make sure that we're reviewing their most recent, and then we can coordinate with anything else Glenn might have to share too. So thanks for that information, Glenn.
This was not still on the call. I want to make sure I was reading that correctly. Are they just allowing VAs to do that? Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway.
We'll look at it. Yeah, we'll look at it and make sure we know what's going on that side too.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Thank you. All right.
Okay. if I may, Dr. Rinaldi, we got through one discussion action item. We've got applicants and rule review, which is going to take a little time because I think there's going to be a few votes that we need to do. So we'll want to review those carefully. So I suggest we wrap it up for today. We table these things to start in public session tomorrow morning at 8:30. Get these things done, and then we'll go into executive session to take care of executive business.
Thank you, Pete. I think that makes sense. Any comments from the board before we adjourn for the day? All right.
Joanna, can I check with you? Does that sound like a good plan for wrap up of today and tomorrow, and then start tomorrow?
Wait, so what time was start tomorrow?
8:30, our regular time.
8:30. Okay. Yeah, no, the way the agenda is up to you all.
Okay.
Do I need to read out, or do we just say we're going to adjourn for the evening and see you tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll adjourn for the evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you all.
All right.